Hey friends, this is Gavin Hardkiss from Hardkiss Music in San Francisco, and you're listening to the Liverpool Connection Podcast.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Liverpool Connection Podcast. I'm Daz, your host. This is my football and music episode where I bring on a musician who's into obviously music and football. And I'm really chuffed for my next guest. We've been chatting for a while now. I actually get to see his pretty mug on camera, and he gets to see mine, which is always nice. But he's head honcho of the brilliant label Forensic Records. Has been in this business for a very long time. I have got tons and tons of his records. I wish he could sign some of them right now, but obviously I'm 3,000 miles away. So, they need to invent something where you can just put it through the screen and it gets signed. But I'm really happy to introduce Chris Scott. We're going to talk about football. He's a Newcastle fan. And we're going to talk about music a bit later on. But Chris, welcome to the pod.
Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here. Daz, do you prefer Daz or Darren? What do you prefer?
Well, a bit of both, really. I mean,
All right.
Daz
Okay,
is
Darren.
Daz is my nickname, so that's what
Yeah.
everybody calls
Well,
me. As long as you don't call me dickhead, I'm all right.
I can't guarantee that. No, Steve and I, Steve Parry and I have like conversations all the time, but we don't have like a phone conversation. We do it through voice messages, and every day it sort of changes. Like he'll call me Christopher instead of Chris, and he'll be like, "I'm using the full name," and I'll be like, "Stephen, how are you doing?" When it's Steve, So I'm comfortable with either. So thank you, Daz, Darren. We'll get going.
Yeah. Well, let's kick off with the football. Let's give sometimes I switch it up and I talk the music first, and then I start looking at the time, and it's like nearly an hour, and we haven't even talked about football. So let's talk about football.
Yeah. Let's
New,
get that done.
Newcastle United supporter. Tell me a little bit about like growing up. As a lad from the northeast.
Well, it's funny you should mention this, and the whole thing of the concept for the interview is great because for me, football and music are like symbiotic in a way that you wouldn't kind of imagine, and they're intrinsically linked to sort of my relationship with music. With When I was a kid, might surprise you, but when I was a kid, so we're talking like 5, 6 year old, 76, 77. I was kind of influenced by the most prolific team of the time in the UK, which were always getting media coverage, which are always on the TV. And that's the same for a lot of people because I live in an area of the northeast of England where you have sort of we here, then you've got Newcastle, Sunderland, Middlesbrough there. So, there's mixed supporters where I live. But in the 70s, a lot of myself and a lot of schoolmates were Liverpool fans. And I was a Liverpool fan myself. And I was lucky enough to have a dad who, even though he says he's like a son, he's one of these guys like, I like all Northeast teams to do well. Kind of in a sense that he's a big Labour man. He tried to start a trade union at his place, but anyway, he's like more about all the people. But he was very happy that I was into it on TV when I was a kid, so he started taking me to a lot of Liverpool matches, and I had the strips, everything when I was a kid, because they were the biggest team going. I mean, we're talking about the years of Kenny Dalglish, Kevin Keegan, Bruce Grobbelaar. And I went to Anfield. I saw them play league games at the pre-Premiership, long time before. I saw them play league games, and I saw them. Do you know? I was trying to find it. I have a European program. Very funny, because like the taxi driver who took us back to the train station on one of these was like, he didn't charge us. He was like, "No, I like you lads. There's no charge." And it was brilliant. They had a lot of respect. And there was one we had from where I lived at the time, Spennymoor. There was a FIFA referee called George. Oh, what was his name? Anyway, you used to see him in the chip shop on a Friday wearing his FIFA fucking tracksuit because it was that much of achievement. But he was a headmaster of a primary school where I live, but also a FIFA referee, George Courtney, and he refereed one of the matches I went to at Liverpool, one of the European ones. But just to show you that I'm not lying, I've been looking through the loft because I'm trying to find. I have a box of digital audio tapes which I cannot locate, and I was going through the loft and I found this.
Oh, that's sweet.
Liverpool League Champions 1980. And I found this. Now, I can't find the program, but I found this, a towel that I have.
Look at you.
See that? Right? Now, I'm not a fan now, but this was the last thing. So I had a relationship with football until the age of sort of 11, 12. And then I got deeply into electronic music. And I didn't have any interest in football until sort of the age of 22. But I think this was the last gift I was given, which is the Kenny Dalglish Book of Football from 1983.
Nice.
So, check out the links below for the eBay for those items. No, I'm only joking. So yeah, when I got into electronic music, and I wasn't interested in football at all after sort of 82, 83. Although some relatives kept giving me gifts, and I didn't get back into football until sort of 92, 93, and I was working a lot with Scott Bradford and Scooby. And when we were in the studio, everything stopped for the football. So I kind of like, okay, we'll watch the football then. And I kind of got into the whole Newcastle thing, which is, what I should have been into from the start. But I had no allegiances when I was 5 years old, 6 years old. And when I was 12, I didn't give a fuck about football. So all I gave a fuck about was electronic music, like New Order, like Tears for Fears. Oh, New Order t-shirt. There you go. Like Tears for Fears, like God, I can't do. I used to, like all of us, I used to put John Peel on, and he used to play everything, but all of these American imports would come in. So I would have record and pause on my stack hi-fi with a glass lid, everything like that. Double tape deck, Sanyo hi-fi with the radio tuned in. And as soon as I heard an electronic beat, I would release the pause and record it.
Mm-hmm.
And electro started happening back then, street sound stuff. So I kind of, my sort of passion for football just disappeared. I just had no thought about it after that. I just became tunnel vision about electronic music. And yeah, so I thought you might find that interesting. And I'm not ashamed to say it.
No,
I'm not ashamed to say it. As a Newcastle fan, I'm not ashamed to say what my roots were.
Well, I mean, Chris, you like, I think you just said it though. As a kid, I mean, I know a bunch of my mates would support Liverpool, but they'd buy different kit, not just Liverpool kit. You know, they'd have a second favourite team. So I totally understand that. It's just, you know, I understand like just going, you know, full throttle into music. It's just a massive break though, like 10 plus years to not watch football, you know?
No, didn't watch it at all.
Yeah. I mean, I say, you know, like I started this podcast because, you know, my granddad took me when I was 6 to Anfield, and tried to tell me all the stories, Shanks and stuff, and I wouldn't really listen because as a kid,
No.
as a
Yeah.
6-year old, you know, you don't listen to your grandparents, you barely listen to your parents, but you know, it took me a while to really understand like what he was trying to tell me. And you know, this is again my ode to my granddad is I'm finally listening to people's stories about football, and obviously now music. But yeah, I mean, as a kid, you know, your head turns that way, your head turns this way. You're chasing girls, you know, you're with your mates. It's just the way it is. But yeah, I mean,
And yeah, I mean, you know, we've seen it over the past 20 years. You know, kids like round where I live, maybe not where you live now, but in other parts of not where you live now, in Texas for sure. But you know, Man City shirts, Man United shirts in the 90s, you know, all of this stuff, you know, and then, you know, I'm lucky enough to sort of have being kind of kidnapped by music when I was, so I can talk to you about this as a Newcastle fan now. And that's nothing against Liverpool.
mhm.
But and you're talking about managers and stuff, you know, I was like a kid who was like mind blown by the teams of Dalglish, uh, um, Bruce Grobbelaar in goal. What a legend! And Dalglish and Ian Rush, you know, as a striker, you know. And my dad, as a football lover, loved going to see these matches. I mean, my dad was in the army and he played football in the army. He did a bit of boxing and he played football in the army as well. And he served in Aden. Um, so he saw a bit of action. And when he was in the army, the boxing he did like he gave me this piece of advice when I was a kid: never have a fight with an Irishman, because he was always fast in the ring. And he said we knocked each other out at the same time. I was like, what was it, like a Rocky moment, you know, where he was like, it pretty much was. But he said, but this lad from he said, I hit him on the jaw, but he hit me square on the nose, and I went down, and I've never been hit so hard, and I never boxed again. And it was an Irish lad. And that was one of the pieces of advice he gave us. And, you know, the other thing about being in the services, he was, you know, he's a he's a Labour man. And he was like, you know, we were on base in the UK, and we would play lads who were working all week in a factory, and we were physically fit men. And we would go and play football there with them, and we were beating them like 11-0. And he was a good footballer. And he said, I'm not going to do this anymore. These lads are working all week, and we're just thrashing them because we are physically trained every day. And it's not fair to humiliate them in these ways. So, you know, just a good bloke. So I got a lot of good lessons from my dad, especially about music as well. So, you know, music, sport, all of that stuff. Most influential figure was my dad. And my granddad, obviously, on my mum's side, served in the forces. So, you know, I think we have an affinity there with regards to our parental, you know, history.
So between the ages of 6 and 12, who was your footballing hero?
Keegan, totally Keegan, wasn't it? And Bob Paisley, I think. Even though, you know, he wasn't he wasn't like an athlete by any stretch of the imagination. Just the way he put things together. I mean, Dad used to tell us stories. He was like, when they signed Kenny Dalglish, he was being interviewed by the media and saying, so what position do you think you play him? Do you think you play him centre of midfield, the right or left? And Bob Paisley said, I'm just going to give him a shirt.
Yeah.
Because he was that good.
Yeah, I mean, but Bob, compared to Shankly, Bob was, the quiet one. But he won so much. But like when he did open his mouth, like you listened,
Yeah,
I
full of
remember.
wisdom.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I'm the same. Kevin, for me, was my childhood hero, but only for a year because then he left Liverpool, broke my heart, and he went to Hamburg. And as you do as a kid, once your kind of footballing hero leaves, you think that's it. But we all know it's not. King Kenny came, and then it was Rush, Barnsley. So Liverpool have had so many. I mean, for you, like for Newcastle, obviously Shearer is the name that sticks out.
Yeah.
Of, for what he's done. At Blackburn, he was a good player, but when he went to Newcastle, he just went up
he went up a little in like folklore, but obviously he won the championship with he won the Premiership with Blackburn, didn't he? So didn't he? So yeah, I mean his career at Newcastle is going to be as legendary as Bobby Robson, Kevin Keegan, and now Eddie Howe, I think. And they have a bar named after him and everything like that. And that when he signed, I mean, it was have you seen the videos of it? I mean, they were out in droves of celebrating this and all this. He's coming home thing. I mean, they're professional footballers. You're going to go where the contract, and he was the most expensive player ever at that time. And you look at it on today's terms, and you think, 15 million. It's nothing now, but back then it was huge. And his passion for the club has never faded. So yeah, I mean, he's a legend in the same way that like all of the key players in the rise. You see, the thing is, he was the resurgence of not the resurgence, because we never really won any trophies. So I'm talking to like a Liverpool supporter here, and like apart from the Intertoto Cup, which is a nothing trophy, which was presided over by Glenn Roeder, who sadly passed away a couple of years ago. Great player as well. We've done nothing, but they gave that whole time with under Keegan and when we signed Shearer and all that stuff was like the sort of the belief came back in a club that could challenge for the top places, and it's been too long for the top four, really. But yeah.
Well, I mean, the one thing I really like about like Newcastle, like the support, it's always been there, like capacity.
Yeah.
Every home match, doesn't matter if you're shite or not, it's always been, full. I love like, a few people will say Liverpool and Newcastle are, kind of
the best grounds to go to.
Yeah. But also the cities, because we're very working class. And, we look after ourselves. And I have respect for Geordies, as I do. I think you're hard-working people. And, It is a shame. I mean, obviously the plaudits for Liverpool. You know, I'll take them every single day of the week.
Yeah.
You know, trophies and all that. But you know, at a club like Newcastle, you should be winning trophies. You know, that's the end
Yeah.
game, is to win trophies. And you've been the almost men for too long.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree. I agree. Even just one little snatch and grab, you know what I mean? It would be great for the support, for the supporters, for the loyal supporters for so long. But as I say, you know, 92, 93, 94 was when I started getting back into football, and they became my team because I had been out of football for so long, out of the following of football for so long. And then, you know, I saw the passion of Scott and Scooby, and, you know, I did, like, at first I was watching going, yeah, yeah, another football match. All I thought about was music. And then it was like infectious. And then, you know, that mid-90s period where things were so close for Newcastle, you know, and you just get sucked in by it. And I became that. I'm not ashamed to say it. You know what I mean? I mean, there's probably lifelong supporters of teams who'll think, fucking hell, you were into Liverpool it fucking was a kid, and then you didn't support any team, and then you got Newcastle. I'm not ashamed to do that. You know what I mean? I've been following for 30 years now,
well,
but
I
I'm not
mean,
an expert.
but Chris, though, there will be I think there'd be a massive difference between, you know, not falling out of love with football, but just not watching it for 10 years. You could have gone back to watching Liverpool because we were still winning trophies, but you went to, you know, you followed Newcastle. So that tells me you're a proper fan.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I didn't even think about any teams at that point. You know, that no team, football wasn't even on my radar. Producing music was my tunnel vision from that time. I mean, I started buying equipment in 1986 just because I wanted to understand how this electronic music was made. I had no aspirations of being a successful record producer. I was just, wow, this stuff's very amazing, and I'm so interested in it. How do you do that? And I just started buying it piece by piece. And you might say in another interview with us, told you I got involved with like through that time from being 12 years old, the guy Zero B, who was just my best mate through comprehensive school. We both were into it. Have you heard this? Have you heard this? Have you heard this? You know what I mean? Football wasn't even on the radar at that point, and it was just all electronic music, street sounds. Fucking hell, have you heard the new order track? You know, and it just went on and on from there. Just this rabbit hole of like, how are these people making this electronic music? So we would go to music shops, fuck about with synths until the music shop owners like got pissed off with us, and then save enough money to buy like a drum machine or buy like a little effects unit or something like that. You know, we just were like that. You know, it was just.
What was your first equipment?
Do you know what? It's a fucking horrible story. It was a place called Rock City on Westgate Road in Newcastle, and I honestly, I got the bus through on the morning, and I'd saved up my paper round and money, and I had some birthday and Christmas money saved up, and I had about 200 quid. And this is in 1986. And it had a missing key as well. You know, they had the compute keys on it. It had a missing key. It was a TR-909. And I said, keep it. I'm going home. And I got the bus home. I got all of my cash, came back. Fuckers had sold it. And I didn't get it. And then I went to Tenerife with my dad, and he gave me some spending money. I just kept it. And on Tenerife, there was a little music shop, and I bought a TR-505 for 250 quid. So that was my first bit of kit that I bought with my own money, and I used to, and this is the thing, I saw a podcast today about the devaluation of music and what it took to actually not only be involved in it, but to actually buy it. If you wanted to buy the physical product of an album or a 12-inch, you had to go out and work to earn the money. And it's like, what, 12 quid a month to have an advert free version of Spotify with every bit of music that's ever been written. There's no value in the actual product anymore, but we're going to try and change that. But anyway, that's another story.
No, I love that, because I had the same conversation the other day, and music to me, especially for vinyl, it's not just the music, it's the artwork that comes with it. It's the whole shebang. I couldn't wait to bring the vinyl home. I would read every single word on the vinyl, and I would look at especially gatefolds. I would love it. Now you just get on Beatport, Tracksource, Juno, you hit download, it's on your computer. There's really no artwork. You put it on your CDJs. Sometimes you'll get a little artwork about this big. It's I'm not going to say music's lost its soul, but I think buying music has lost its soul. If you know,
I fully agree with that, Darren. I fully agree with that. I mean, my daughter just turned 13, my second daughter, and she is she was adamant that she wanted to start collecting vinyl, and I had a few that I could give her. And my missus, she's like a retail operations manager for charities, so she can get access to donations, and she buys them and stuff like that. We got a pristine, and I remember this from my dad, because my dad got me into music when I was a kid, and I'll never forget him bringing home. They had a lending library at the place that he worked, so they had a lending library. They used to bring a trolley around on a Friday that you could lend vinyls over the weekend. Brilliant. Why don't we have that anymore? And he brought home War of the Worlds. So the War of the Worlds had the whole thing, but it had a booklet of artwork. And the artwork have you ever seen the artwork for War of the Worlds? I mean, it's mind blowing. We sat and listened to that, put it on the record player, Bush, listened, me and my sister, my older sister, and we sat and listened, being elated, shitting ourselves, everything, just all of the emotions that go on when you switch off, because you're not switching off. When you put on a Spotify playlist, you put it on, it's on the speakers, it's on the Bluetooth or whatever, it's on your headphones, and then you go scrolling. These kids go scrolling the fucking TikToks and the fucking Instagrams and shit like that. You never did that. You would absorb yourself in what was going on. You would look at the vinyl art and the stuff that came with it, and you would just fucking be absorbed by the sounds that you were hearing and the visualizations of them that the creators thought would be great for these double albums and the artwork that went with it and all that stuff. And it's just like, and my daughter anyway, so my missus got donated a thing, and she bought it, the ELO one with, what's it called, Out of the Blue, I think, Mr. Blue Skies on it, and it's got the spaceship on the outside, and you open it up, it's the interior of the spaceship, and it's there's a thing with there's a pull out with all the artists on it, and it's just mind blowing. We got I'm a Radiohead fan, so we got a In Rainbows, which I think is their best album. just to put that out there. And you know, she's like, you know, oh my God, and she's treating these vinyls like they're like pieces of gold. You know, she won't put her fingers on the side. She's very awkward about putting them on the deck. You know, she thinks it's like a piece of gold, like a very valuable thing, and she's very careful how she places the stylus on it, and it's just a brilliant thing. So hopefully that's going to come back round, and people will start to value music as a, you know, a medium that should be bloody respected, and to own it means something. Not just to have it on a playlist on a thing where you can put the playlist on and then go and scroll through some other stuff. Absorb yourself in the music, you know.
100%.
And that's it. Yeah.
I mean,
that's a cool thing.
I used to go to record stores, right? And it wasn't, you know, what the latest trend was. I mean, I could go, you know, flip through things, and if the artwork would kind of jump out to me and I didn't know that who it was, I would take it out and I would go listen to it. I mean, 9 out of 10, most of them were absolute crap. But there was one, you know, that was really good, but it was about the artwork. I mean, it's about the whole thing. I mean, I would rush home from the record store and do what you put the headphones on. Okay, got me pillow, like sat there. I'm 100% into the music. Look, I don't care what's going on around me. You know, you crank it up to 10.
Lose yourself in it.
And
with the headphones on.
Yeah, I just think, you know, and those massive 70s, 80s headphones that come out to here, like with
like the curly lead. With the curly lead. Yeah.
Yeah, look like
I remember
somebody from Star Wars.
Yeah, the big thing. Yeah, like Princess Leia kind of buns on the side of your head. Yeah, I remember. I had the big stack hi-fi, and I remember listening to Frank Goes to Hollywood, Welcome to the Pleasure Dome, and the first side of the first thing is Welcome to the Pleasure Dome, and it's like, well, I don't know, it's like 22 minutes long. When I was a kid, when I got that, and I was listening to it, and I was a secret smoker at the time, 12 years old, and I was having like a cigarette, and the curly lead was like the hi-fi was over there, and the curly lead, I was trying to have a secret cigarette. Now everyone smoked in those days. My mom, my dad did, so the house would smell of smoke anyway. So I thought, I'll get away with this, but I'll just put it out the window. And I had this on like fucking 9 on the Sanyo, and I was leaning out the window, and a bit of tabash dropped on my finger, and the lead popped out, and the whole house was filled with level 9 Sanyo hi-fi sound because the headphones had come out, and I was having a tab out the window. I was like, oh my God. Those were the days. And
what a great album that was as well.
Oh my God. I'm gonna like look who, you know, the thing is, what a producer he was as well, though. You know what I mean? I mean, I know there were Liverpool lads and everything like that, but the producer was the key.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what sort of you can have the best musical ideas in the world and the best lyrics and the best melody, but if you're not putting them, and it's not always down to just the producer, it's a lot of the time when it's music, it's a lot of the time down to the musicianship. No one's going to hear them if it's not presented in the correct way, and I think that's what production is all about. It's about finding the best way to. It's saying polishing is the wrong thing. It's sort of like, right, you've got a great idea here. Let's expand upon it, and let's give it to, like, let's make as many people as we can appreciate it. And I never knew that when I started producing. I just wanted to be a part of house music. I didn't want to be a big producer or anything. I just was like, I want to do stuff like this. You know, I want to know how it's done when I first started buying equipment, but I want people to hear what I've done. But I didn't think I want to be the best producer. I want to be the best. It wasn't about that. It was just like, and that's what house music, I think, is about. It's about being part of a movement, you know. And I've always said this, and you know, being part of me. I mean, I'm not into retro nights. I think as part of a movement, as house music, it needs to move. It needs to, and I don't mind revisiting stuff as long as we give it a new edge. But yeah, I think house music's always been about moving things on, and it's always been about acceptance, and it's always been about inclusivity, and you know, you make your friends over the years within the scene who have their own, you know, their own perception of how they feel about the music. But it always should be about with house music, it always should be about, you know, everyone is welcome. Whatever, as it used to be said, whatever color, creed, preference, physically, sexually, whatever you choose, it's all about, we're all part of the same family. And we never had that in any other music scene. From me being a kid, you know, there's rockers, there's mods, there's whatever else. Yeah. And it was very tunnel vision about what they thought their followship should be. House music transcends all of that, you know, and that's what I love about it.
Well, like the song "House is a Feeling."
Yeah,
it just nails it for me, because it is.
Yeah.
Anyone can listen to this music. There's not a certain way you need to dress to enjoy it.
No,
you know.
Yeah.
I'm
will never be judged. You
No.
will never be judged for your feelings about physicality, sexuality, fucking creed. You know, you will never be judged, and that's the best thing about it. I mean, it's universal, more than any music that was ever created. You know?
Yeah, no, it's the best feeling in the world. Like, I mean, you know, you have a bad day, you put a house record on, and your day gets better. You know, music. Again, I quote some. You know, music is the answer. It to our problems. There's many a day.
Oh, Danny,
I can put on. You know, you learn from the best. But I like how you know, you say, like, you know, you didn't want to be this superstar producer, because, you know, we do live in today's world where social media, as you know, DJs and producers are the rock stars of today, and all you need to do is get on social media, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok especially, and you see a massive change in what I was brought up.
Yeah.
You know, the DJ. Now the DJ is the center of attention, and I know when I played, I didn't want anyone in the booth.
No.
I don't need 30, 40 people in the booth. Usually you have the lighting guy in the booth, maybe a couple of mates. Now it's like every video you see, there's like 30, 40, even, you know, hundreds of people. And I don't know. I just think it's gotten so up its own arse. Like,
well, people who profess to be, who claim to be fanatics about the vibe of it all and the scene, you know, they just want to be seen.
Mhm.
That's why they're in the DJ booth, and that's why you have boiler rooms. They're not they're not into music. They're bloody just wanting to be on the video of the DJ playing stuff,
Mhm.
and on the most part interfering with it. I couldn't handle it. I mean, I've had situations where I've been DJing and there are fucking people just hanging on your shoulder and literally hanging, like not just watching what you're doing, like they've got your hands on your shoulder, and I'm like, where's the fucking security here? It's just like I'm trying to play to these people in front of me. I'm not playing to you behind me. Why are you here anyway? I don't know. I don't know. But we could talk all night about that topic,
Yeah.
about how the whole presentation of DJing has changed over the last 20 years. I mean, it's just gotten crazy.
It has.
But
There's so many positives though. I mean, yes, you have these, you know, big festivals and stuff. A lot of the DJs, and they are playing pre-recorded sets. That's just it's not new. It's out there. I think it's disgraceful, but it's
it's
because it's disrespecting the punters. I think, even though quite a lot of people could care less how you do it. It's what's coming out the speakers. But for me, if I'm
yeah,
paying 40, 50 quid to see one of my favorite DJs, you better be in there behind those decks sweating,
yeah,
and
yeah,
your full focus should be playing the music, not
yeah,
taking pictures of yourself, not taking
yeah.
videos of yourself. You
No,
that's why I love people like Sasha Digweed. They're not doing
yeah.
all silly.
Digweed won't dance. Sasha will put his out there. I actually got paid a respect from Sasha last year. There's a remix I did that Sasha was playing a few times, and when he was playing it, he did that. Now that is a compliment from Sasha. Just doing that.
Mhm.
Digweed never dances. And that's not. I mean, when I DJ, I can't help but dance. And like the dancing part of it, shaking me legs and shaking it, like giving that. It's part of my ritual of like being rhythmic with the music. If I'm not shaking my legs, the fucking track is going out of time. You know what I mean? So if you see me standing still, it's because I'm trying to bring the track into time. When they're in time, I'm going to be fucking bouncing a little bit, not jumping up and down, but bouncing. You know, and I think that's the natural side of it. But yeah, like what you say about this whole TikTok generation and Insta generation of people needing videos of that when it's pre-recorded. I mean, it's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Um, that's not what this whole thing was about. And let's face it, you and I were in this scene from the off. I mean, you know, d- d- Jackie Body was 1985, was it? Like, and Colonel Abraham's Trapped, 1984, maybe. I was into electro before that, and I mean, electro it became hip hop, but without all the guns.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it, it was all about the groove and the sort of electronic hypnoticness of the whole thing that send people into this sort of dance kind of mentality that just it was all about that. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain it. That I'm not the best at at making a diary of the whole evolution of what it was and where it's become. But I just know that there's been some better moments than there are right now with the TikTok and Insta generation for this scene, which was all about underground inclusive and escaping false people, and now it seems to be populated by false people who just want to be seen on videos for stuff. It was about the escape of those type of people,
No,
and
100%.
yeah,
But I mean, so many still underground clubs out there, which is great. Even if you play to 100 people, if those 100 people are having a frigging great time, listening to
yeah,
what you're putting out. I mean, I know from, again, Pete, Pete Bones.
yeah.
He's
Pete's a good guy.
he could play to 3,000 people or 100 people, and he'll put the same effort in, and
Yeah,
that's mad respect for me, because I've known Pete for God knows 25 years, and
yeah,
it's just his label Red Ant and Ugly Bug
yeah,
still underground. Yeah, he had
yeah,
a couple of hits that were like Pete Tong uh, paraded on Radio One, but he's one of the most hard-working DJs out there and producers,
yeah,
and I have
yeah.
so much respect, not only just because he's a mate of mine, but I see what he goes through. You don't make
Yeah.
much money. You
No,
don't.
you don't anymore.
It's
Pete and
about
I, Pete and I, from that era where you did make money in the vinyl era. And not only that, I mean, I had the underground stuff in the vinyl era, like the Echomen and Echomen Project and Lexicon Avenue Project, Little Green Men, but the third party licensing, the vinyl sales, everything was decent living.
Mhm.
It wasn't mega bucks. It's not Taylor Swift money. You know what I mean? But I was lucky enough to have the charts success. So if I hadn't had that, I wouldn't have been able to do those follow-up projects. I would have had to get a real job. But yeah, I see what Pete's doing, and it's always great. I mean, you look at the longevity of people like Everything But the Girl. Um, Ben Watt doing his other projects, and I mean, I have a massive crush on Tracy Thorn, and she's someone who I'd love to work with. But
Mhm.
obviously, the partners, like the crush is the side thing. I mean, I just love that the way she emotionalizes stuff, and and she's able to sort of, well, Ben and her are able to kind of amalgamate that with an underground sound or whatever sound is cool.
Mhm.
The Walking Wounded, and just not the obvious ones, but they've been doing it for years, and those are the kind of people I look up to within the scene. And they're not even in the scene that we're in. They're not making progressive house tracks or anything like that, but they are just able to just like come out from nowhere and then just make amazing music, and that you can sort of just go, wow.
Mhm.
Those are the people you look up to. I mean, we're in a conversation I'm doing stuff at the moment with a guy called Richard Gill. He used to work under the name Joshua Cantrell, and we're on about doing vinyl only stuff. And that's where, going back to what you said, that's where I think we can get some value back into this stuff. Not value in the way that, look, we can pay for the studio time, we can pay for the um we can pay for the actual productions, and hopefully people will value the product like as
Mhm.
a 12-inch and go, yeah, I want that. We're trying to focus on that at the moment. um and we're in a conversation with a couple of people um about reissuing some of their stuff with the new remix. But I'm also talking about doing forensic vinyl for the stuff that's got demand on Discogs
Mhm.
with a brand new remixer. We've confirmed 3 remixes for this. We were supposed to do it last year, but it never came off. Um, and then at the moment, I have another project going on, which is like a sister label to forensic, which does everything except progressive. So it's all, anything goes, like good music, basically. So yeah, it's exciting to go down that route, but it's scary at the same time because you never know how it's going to, and it's a big punt. It's a big risk. Not
It
like
is.
it used to be.
Can you imagine though if you didn't do it and then you look back, when you're in your rocking chair, and then you go, I should have, I could have, and I didn't.
Yeah.
You've got to try it. I mean, like even like doing limited runs of vinyl.
Oh,
Like
it'd be very limited. Yeah.
yeah, I like that because I'll just talk about the Adidas Specials, kind of the same
Go
thing.
for it. Because that's quite impressive. Your backdrop is quite impressive there. I'm very impressed.
Yeah, I got me music on one side and me half me trainer collection on the other bit. It's like the Special collection for Adidas. They only put out so much, and that it's a limited run, and I appreciate that because it's quality over quantity. And I think where you and like Pete are kind of the same is like let's put out quality first, not quantity. And I appreciate that, and I agree wholeheartedly about getting this vinyl stuff back in the hands of like teenagers, back in the hands of 20 somethings.
Yeah.
Let's I just wish like techniques weren't so expensive for a lot of people. I mean, they are the best out there.
Yeah.
Tens, but you can still buy a belt driven record player and still play stuff and still be a collector. But yeah, I'd like to see that. And not only that though, but just also just to update your catalog, remaster some of your older stuff.
Yeah.
Because I was going back actually yesterday on Beatport, and you can tell the difference. Like the level is low on some of your older tracks. So I would love to hear like some remastered tracks.
Well, that's down to the medium. So in the older tracks, when you used to master for vinyl, and the medium is so much like narrower in bandwidth. So you had to squash the tops, you had to like mono the bass and keep not so much into it, because physically, and I've spoke about this before, physically, if you put a record in, you have stereo on the bass, the needle would physically jump out of the groove. So the bass has to be very, very stringently controlled, and the tops have to be stringently controlled because of the medium of vinyl. So it sounds so much narrower. The vinyl stuff compared to the digital stuff sounds so much narrower. You don't get that bandwidth with vinyl. However, when you hear it on vinyl, it's a different thing. It's like it sounds wider, it sounds bigger. But yeah, you have to take that into account when you're mastering for stuff. And we have a plan. I have some reissues going. I mean, there's a track that I did that you probably never heard of. I mean, all right, you probably heard of Happy Clappers, Lexicon Avenue, Echomen, Little Green Men,
Mooncat.
Mooncat. Yeah, you've probably heard of those. You've probably never heard of All Things Nice, Deep Six, Three Man Jury. Look, honestly, there's so many tracks I've produced where I had to have a different name because I couldn't just put them all under one name, and I was collaborating with several different people. There's probably like 30 different like artist names that I've produced. And there's one by All Things Nice, which is changing hands for 150 quid. And people are sending me videos, and it's all this early 90s to mid 90s primitive house stuff that people are just going wild for now. One of them changing hands, All Things Nice Post Chase, is changing hands for 150 quid a copy. It was on Tumbling Records, which is my mate Simon Gibbs' label. And you know, we're going to do a repress on that, but a limited one. But we're not going to charge the earth for it because we couldn't sell them all. But yeah, you've got to be realistic about new vinyl sales, but we are going to get back into vinyl. Yeah, so that's the thing. And I mean, we're going to do vinyl for forensic as well. So what we're doing, and we've got some great producers on board remixing some of the, I want to say classics, but I don't want to sound like a dickhead. But I want to say the more well-known ones. You know, so we've got like Dilby doing Echomen Substance.
Oh,
And we've got well, I'm just in a conversation today about another track to be remixed by Hernan Cattaneo and Marcelo Vasami. And what's agreed for Little Green Men Need, which is the big vocal track, which will probably put the Satoshi Tomi remix on one side and then the remix on the other, and the remix will probably be by Dinox and Beckers. You know, so we've got a plan for these vinyls for that, but I've also got another plan to reissue some of my older vinyls, which are like, I don't know why, but all this early house stuff, primitive sounding house stuff, is like Deep Six, like All Things Nice, like Shindig, all of that stuff is getting the vinyls second hand are changing hand for stupid money because of this new sort of, which is great, this new sort of fixation with original vinyls. So that's another thing that's in flux at the moment. But yeah, that's the moving forward situation.
yeah, I'm looking for that. What about Here I Am?
Here I Am, right? Yeah. Well, that was Deep Dishes. But you know, and this is the thing, you know, I have some stuff on Deep Dish recordings, I have some stuff on Saw recordings. Like, part of a record contract is that you let them exploit it and you sign a deal for however many years. But part of the deal is that they account to you for every transaction, every sale. So you agreed to let them exploit the recording, not the intellectual property, to sell it and then account to you. When these labels fail to account to you, then automatically these things revert to your ownership. However, on certain labels from the vinyl era and the third-party licensing era, where people were selling CDs, there's some of these labels that owe me and several of my compatriots a lot of money. So that's an ongoing thing. But yeah, I'm gonna re-release a lot of these tracks, and there's absolutely no way a lot of these labels can argue with it because they have defaulted on their part of the contract.
Yeah, it's just a cruel world with that. But yeah, I mean, I look forward to hearing, especially the Dilby one. Like, I'm excited about that. It's
the Dilby one.
Isn't it always nice though? I mean, it's something that you've created, right? You know, the original, and then somebody takes part of that and kind of puts their own stamp on it. It's got to make you feel good though, that, you know, they're taking a part of your heart and soul, what you've put into that record that you've made, and then they for a whole new generation, like they're you know, followers and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just because the stuff Dilby's doing as well is fantastic. You know, it's just it's
Dilby included Substance as like he did, and you're not going to like where he did it, but obviously he's an Australian living in Germany, but he did an article for the Sun, where he listed his 10 most influential tracks, and Substance was one of them. And yeah, that's great. And I get messages all the time about Echomen tracks or Lexicon Avenue tracks, and it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling when people tell you, this stuff changed. And like producers who are big now, I'm not going to mention names, but like pretty much a lot of the ones you'd know in the progressive scene have said, this track that I've done have like influenced their sort of thing, and that's an amazing thing to feel.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want it to be like a thing that I'm doing. Like progressive house is like more of a feeling than a genre. It's more of a, you need to, and I get messages like, I love your new track, but why don't you do the stuff you used to do? Well, because I'm trying to move on, and it's more of a sort of feeling of like you say, progression, but it's never standing still. I'm not someone who would do, like, I've been offered gigs of like doing retro nights and stuff like that. I won't do that. Like all of house music is supposed to be forward thinking. Like, we're all part of a crew who believe in forward thinking, and let's push this sound on. Whatever whatever the journey may be. You might get it right, you might get it wrong, but I believe in that. I believe in that, and I don't want to look back. However, in certain areas, if I can look back and put a new slant on stuff, then great. And if I can provide people who want stuff that's unavailable that I used to do, then great. On vinyl, that's great. But as far as producing music goes, I would rather look forward and do stuff that I think, yeah, you might not like it now, but you might in 10 years' time. But I don't know. I don't want to stay in the same place. I don't want to kind of stagnate and think, well, that's it. I've done that. I'll just stay there and just keep doing it.
I would think you don't want to be pigeonholed either. Just like he's a progressive house producer, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the words,
I don't mind that. But
that's progressive.
Well, the genreification of music came about because of the digital platforms, really. I mean, as well as I do, that when you used to go to record shops and you knew the owners of the record shops, they'd pull out tracks. And it might be like a deep house track, or what we call deep house track now, or what we call a progressive house track now, or we call a techno track out now. And they would give you those tracks to listen to, and you would either dig them or not dig them. But no one would say to you in the record shop, here's a deep house track, here's a progressive house track, here's a techno track. They wouldn't say that. They'd just say, I think you would like these. And that's what's missing. But the genreification of music is like, it's something we have to adapt to if you want to release music in the digital era. And right or wrong, it's just a fact of life now. So we have to genreification everything. And we have a new sister label coming on Forensic, which is called 12 Point, which does everything apart from progressive house. So we're doing what's classified as indie disco, breaks, melodic house and techno, everything else. And we have a new release ready, which is going into promo this weekend. which is my little partner Les, who is for Dal, and his 12 Point. Let me tell you about 12 Point. So it's called 12 Point because Forensic Records, we have the thumbprint, as you know. But there are 12 points of a thumbprint which are identifiable as an individual. So we just thought 12 points.
Look at you. Smart.
So 12 Point is going to be everything but progressive. And we have this track coming out soon, which is going into promo. And the identity of 12 Point looks great. And anyway, it's the label partner for Dal, and he's done this great vocal track with and it's got a remix from Aubrey Fry, which is absolutely phenomenal. And he's already sent it to Lauren Garnier, and Garnier's like, fucking hell, what is this? So I think we're getting off on the right foot for like a sister label, which isn't the prog stuff. But we go back to categorization of stuff. I mean, surely it's all about good underground music,
Yeah, there's so many like I can't even keep up with these subgenres. Like it's just like you said, there's good music and there's bad music. And I miss the days of, going in and the lad at the counter's like, all right, Darren, here's a stack of 20 I thought you might like. Not, this one's prog, this one's deep, this one's tech, this one's disco, this one's indie. Like what?
Yeah.
No, it's all music.
Yeah, but there's 1,000 progressive house tracks come out every week on Beatport. But the thing is, going back to what you said there, this is something you might like, right? Now, the thing is, when it was a vinyl commodity, right, there had to be a level of A&R about it. Can we sell like the minimum, like even though it only cost £1 to produce one record back then, it's like £4 now to produce one record if you're only doing 300. So to produce one record back then was £1 to do 1,000. And you thought, right, can we sell 1,000 of these tracks? So there was an A&R decision, an artisan repertoire decision about, can we do it? Can we not? Who will buy this? Are there enough people who will buy this record to cover the costs of manufacturing it? And, with digital distribution, there's none of that risk. That's why we get 1,000 progressive house records a week. Sorry, not records. 1,000 progressive house releases a week. 1,000 organic house releases. 1,000, 2,000 melodic house and techno releases a week. There's no financial risk in digital distribution. You can just put any shit out there, and it's up online.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's not a product. It's not a physical product that you have to invest money into. Yeah. So that's where it became fucked.
Yeah. And a lot of it's just absolute garbage. I mean, to be honest.
Yeah.
And because I live over there. Obviously, there are record stores over there. There's not really any near me like that. Like 3 Beat was for me. I used to go to 3 Beat in Liverpool all the time. Pez, who owned it. So I missed the actual like going there and spending half my day there and going through 50, 60 records and only buying like 2. While I get on Beatport, and I can listen to some music and go off and do something else, come back.
Yeah.
That's why I say like the soul of buying music's gone, because it's just the
100%.
click. And
100%.
It's sad, and then you just download it, put it on your USB,
Yeah.
Even though like I'll say this, taking records around to gigs,
Oh, it was a ball ache.
You know, it was, and especially traveling with it on airport, and you're just hoping it comes on that conveyor belt. You're going, please,
Yeah.
this time, you know, because there's been horror stories where, you know,
Oh, Scott Bradford had the same, like twice in Portugal. We'll call them DJ baggage handlers.
yeah, yeah, because
Yeah.
you know what a DJ bag looks like, a box looks like, you
Yeah.
know, and yeah, I remember when
And if it
Oakenfold,
disappears, yeah,
yeah, there's not much you can do, and you know, I even heard the other what was it last week? Frankie Wah got all his stuff nicked in Ibiza. You know, they'd just gone to eat, and you know, it wasn't vinyl, but it was like music that he'd made that he hadn't, you know,
released. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just sad. But yeah, I mean, my back's a lot better than carrying two crates full of records across
Yeah.
a field. You know, that's
Yeah.
one good thing, but you know, it still feels weird to just walk into a club with a
The
music
tiny little stick. Yeah.
stick and just
Yeah.
popping it in there, you know,
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
know, as you know, you'd put your records on a little shelf, and then you
Yeah.
start going through them. You know, you
Yeah.
put them
Yeah.
up. I miss those days. I really, really do. But you know,
Well, it's like the visualization of the tracks as well. You know, like a lot of old vinyl DJs tell me, you know, they would know a track from the sleeve, you
yeah,
know, rather than looking at the inner circle. And
hmm
I find it, I mean, I'm from like, look, I'm a record producer and I got into DJing for like I could always mix records because I was at decks in my studio from
mm,
mates who were there, like in my bed set back in 1990. You know what I mean? But I'm a record producer, so I got into DJing in the CD age. So, you
mm,
know, I didn't have to go through like while all you guys were buying vinyl, I was spending ridiculous amounts of money on analog equipment. And this is another thing I was talking to someone else about as well. And they're all like nowadays it's like, oh, like I want a fucking I want this Moog sub 37. I want the fucking Jupiter 8. And you're paying like 8-9 grand for it. Now,
mhm,
like back then, before the days of plugins and fucking, you know, digital audio workstations that had all these synths available to you, you had to buy these fucking synths and it
mm,
cost a fucking fortune. I mean, I paid, I think, 600 quid for a Jupiter 6 in 1995 and I sold it in 2002 for 800 quid. I
mhm,
looked for one of those when I came into a bit of money in 2016. They were 3.5 grand. You know, and it's like, you know, the reason I had those synths was because there was no plug-in, there was no digital audio. Like everyone's got everything now.
mm,
Everyone has, you know, access to replications of analog synths on all these digital audio workstations, whether it be Cubase, Logic, fucking Ableton, whatever.
mhm,
You didn't have that back then. If you wanted that warm, fat sound, you had to have that synth.
mhm.
So, you know, while all you guys were buying records, I was spending an absolute fortune on studio equipment. I mean, at one point, my studio was worth about 100 grand just in outboard alone, you know,
Mhm.
back in the late 90s, early 90s, you know, and I sold it off dead cheap and then regretted it because I could have sold it for a fucking fortune now. But there you go. That's you live and learn.
Well, that's
You
the
know.
thing too, though, with plugins as well. You know, you can get on these sites and download so much for free. While, you know, the equipment, the physical equipment is expensive now. It's just, you know,
Yeah. But, and this is the thing I always say, like going back to what I said there, you had to have these things you had to have a Jupiter 6 to have that Jupiter 6 sound. You can
Mhm,
have a plug-in of that now that sounds exactly the same. Now, the purists will say, well, I know that's the fucking digital recreation of that. Yeah.
Mm.
But what I say to them is, I have never, ever seen anyone on the dance floor with their hands in there going, and when a sound comes in, going, hang on, that's not a real Jupiter 6. I'm going to the bar. Bastards. It doesn't work like that. What matters is the overall creation.
Yeah.
And
What's the end
look,
product?
yeah. No, I'm all for this whole, like, let's keep it fucking totally analog thing. But I did that. I did that era where it had to be that because there was no other options. But fucking hell, it's a lot easier to switch on your digital audio workstation and everything is there that you put in the last time you put it in, rather than recalling all these mixer settings and all these analog fucking synth settings that you had the last time. It's like so much easier. It's safe. So, and nobody on the dance floor will tell the difference because they don't know. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
As long as
Anyway.
it's produced well and engineered well, you're not really going to tell the difference, are you? Well,
Ever.
Chris, we're coming to kind of the end. I'm
Yes, we are. Yep.
I'm definitely going to have you back on because there's a lot more I do want to talk to you about. But I've got 3 questions to end this,
Okay.
and they'll be football and music related.
Great.
My third question would be to talk about I do want to say you've collabed with Steve Parry. So
Yes.
that's coming out. Who is someone that you haven't collabed with already that you would like to?
Oh, that's a good question. Collab like sitting next to me.
Yeah, in 3 a.m. studio.
Oh, that I never ever thought about that. I always thought about people who like what I do and tell me they like what I do, and then we finally make a connection. Um, I don't know. I don't know. That is a very difficult question. I mean, wow. Yeah. Let me think. Oh, that's a good question. I mean,
Because I know I know you admire like Sasha and Digweed and Lod Garnier, Carl Cox, all that. But
yeah, but I have to be
somebody
realistic about that question.
to
I
have
have to be realistic about that question.
and to have somebody in the studio, like actually physically, not where you send them a bit over the internet. They send
Yeah. No, physically sit in the studio because when I'm in the studio, it's usually me at the controls.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very difficult to say who would not want to be at the controls or who would judge me by my manipulation of the controls. That is a difficult one. I mean, producers I admire at the moment are people like Rodriguez Jr., but he does it all.
Yeah.
So it's like hard. How would I sit down with someone? It's very hard. I think, from his players of my stuff, and if I could be at the controls and say, what do you think of this? Like I do with every other DJ who comes in, I would say Digweed.
Yeah.
Digweed.
I would if that ever happens, I would love that because I love.
I don't think that would ever happen. But we're talking about, things that would never happen anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I only work with people who I converse with regularly and all that stuff. But from point of view of sitting here and me going, yeah, what do you think of this?
Mm-hmm.
It probably would be Digweed. Because Sasha is like, you know, like a you know, a sort of an independent. Well, not an independent. No, it's hard to say. Yeah, Digweed maybe. I like what Rodriguez Jr. is doing, but he would be at the controls, and I don't think I could handle that. So yeah, that's a difficult. I'd have to take a lot of time to think about this question, actually.
Well, like I said, I'm hoping to get you on
I'll
again.
get back to you on that one.
My second one is back to the football. What are
Okay.
your aspirations for Newcastle for the season ahead?
Well, the season ahead, it's too early to say. I mean, let's see what happens with the transfer window, but it's you know, you've got to be realistic about this stuff, and financial fair play will come into it a lot. So your aspirations have to be tempered by those restrictions. And I would love us to get top four again, like we did not this season, but last season, 22-23. But I think keeping our key players is the like Isaac and Harvey Barnes and like players like that we need to keep, that we need to hold on to, and not become again one of these like stepping stones clubs for other clubs. I would like to hold on to the key players and hopefully get a top four again.
Yeah, that's
the thing. I mean, top four. I mean, you've got to be realistic. You don't want to. Yeah, I could sit here and say I want to win the Premiership, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, don't blow steam out your arse. We all know you'll blow it out of your whatever you're smoking.
That's a vape.
Yeah,
that's a vape. I'm gonna put that up there so you remember it again. But that was a towel I had as a kid.
Yeah, it's so class. That bag is looks in
this bag,
pristine.
League champions 1980.
Look at that, shiny and new, even though it's from the 80s.
No, it's not. It's got a big mark on there which I can't get over. I think it might have been an OXO cube rubbed into that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I used to have many bags like that. Not with the yellow those. That's class. All right, my final one is your ultimate festival lineup for Friday, Saturday, Sunday headliners, DJs, bands, alive or dead.
Oh my God! Right, off the cuff. Festival. Okay. Friday night. All right. I can mention two DJs and a band. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two DJs and a band for Friday night. That would be for the Friday night. Two DJs and then a band. I would go for. Let me think. For the Friday night. God. Right. I should have had these in advance. All right. So for the Friday night, I would have DJ Deep from France. DJ Deep. And then Scott Bradford, one of my greatest friends, who's been the most influential. DJ Deep, Scott Bradford, and then the band would be Tame Impala. All right.
I like
So,
it.
so Saturday night would be good warm-up DJ I've heard. Paolo Mojo, great warm-up DJ. Warmed up for us at the Exit Festival. What a warm-up DJ he was. Paolo Mojo, then Laurent Garnier, then band. Band. Laurent Garnier. Then who follows Laurent Garnier? What about following Laurent Garnier? I mean, this is fucking crazy. But what about following Laurent Garnier would be Smashing Pumpkins. All right. This is crazy. I mean, you just landed this. If I had more time to research this, so Saturday night would be well,
you got your Sunday now. So you're down
no,
to
no. I've done Friday, Saturday. Oh, right, Sunday.
so
Sunday would be, and this is set in stone. Sunday would be Deep Dish, Danny Tenaglia, then Radiohead.
I like it.
That would be quite a thing to get into.
That's a Chris Scott festival coming coming in the next 10 years. No, I always like to end with that. I probably should have like sent you a message and say I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, I wish you had. I would have had more time to research that.
Because that is
just off the top.
You know, I respect all the DJs you said and all the bands as well. I like them all. It's just you know, to get people's different opinions on, you know, some people will go, I want to go all out on a Friday night to set the tone, and then Sunday I'm going to do just kind of like a lazy kind of soulful kind of thing. But yeah, I like your stuff. I'd pay money to go to your festival. But Thank you everyone for listening. Please go check out Chris's website. It's forensicrecords.co.uk. He's got a bunch of forensic hoodies and t-shirts, and he's got a few mixes on there, but most importantly, he's got his music, which is number one. And you know, for all you music lovers, whether you're progressive house, deep house, techno, tech, indie, good music is good music, and let me tell you, it's damn good music. So please go check it out. Until next time, please like, subscribe, put your notifications on, and we'll see you next time.